every other platform. So let's go. So we're going to talk about this insulin resistance thing, how it's linked into your heart. Now, I always talk about 5 different ways that insulin resistance causes high blood pressure. We're going to go over all of those today, but there's one thing that's been weighing on the back of my mind about high blood pressure and insulin resistance. And so I dove in to find out, because it's not something people usually talk about, what the deal is. And I'm going to be sharing that new information with you guys at the end of this. So hang out. All right. So insulin resistance. Let's talk about that. It's affecting millions of people worldwide, but most people don't even realize that it's affecting you. So you don't realize it's happening inside your body. You don't realize all the symptoms are linking to insulin resistance. You don't understand that. So you're going in 1,000 different directions thinking there's all these things wrong with you. And at the end of the day, it's likely mostly related to insulin resistance, and including high blood pressure or hypertension. So have you ever felt like your heart is just bumping way too hard? It's working way too hard. I got to get this camera up a little bit here. And that, there we go. Okay. That your heart's just working way too hard. Maybe you wake up in the night and it's just racing out of your chest, or you're just tired of taking your blood pressure all the time because you know that it's high no matter what you're trying to do. You just know that your blood pressure is out of control. Let me move this down a little bit too. So insulin resistance, let's dive into that because it's linked to hypertension. It's one of the top causes for hypertension. And I want you guys to understand what all of this is. Okay. So I'll give you the 5 reasons in a second. But before we dive into those, I want you to understand insulin resistance. So this is what it is. It's like a key. So insulin is a hormone that acts like a key that then unlocks your cells and allows energy in. But if the lock and key aren't working, there's a problem. We're not getting energy to the cells. The body just doesn't work right. And then things start to get in dysfunction. So when you have insulin resistance, it's like the key has been tried too many times because we're constantly putting in energy and in as food into our body, and we're starting to break down from it. So we're using that key too often, and all of a sudden the key does not work right anymore. I gotta try and fix this, you guys. Whatever, it's going to be there for today. So then when the key's not working and able to get the energy into the cells, it's staying in the bloodstream longer than it should. And then the body says, we got to get this out of here. So it starts putting it in your storage unit or your fat cells. Okay, so now you're building up fat and the locks are jammed and the cells that need them are not getting energy, or they're already having all these other things like oxidation and inflammation, and they're like, please, no more, we don't want more. But here's the other thing is your pancreas starts to freak out and make more insulin, this hormone that acts like a key, and tries to force the doors open. So I'm going to pause there for a second. Hear me out on this. If we already have too much insulin, and that's the problem that we're having, why on earth does a doctor give you insulin for type 2 diabetes? I want you guys to think about that because that's exactly the wrong way to treat it. According to metabolic scientists, that's exactly what we should not be doing. Okay, so over time, your body is drowning in too much insulin and too much sugar, and that starts to lead to all kinds of damage. So how do you know if insulin resistance is you? Well, guess what? That high blood pressure, 130 over 80 or higher, is likely insulin resistance. Sky, thank you. Thank you so much for all the love. I hope that the right people hear this message today. Okay. So most people have no idea they're insulin resistant, and it can happen to you for 10, 20, 30 years before it ever becomes diabetes or something else. It frustrates the holy living snot out of me that I talk to people all day and they're like, but I was never diagnosed with diabetes before, because they don't test for insulin resistance. And you don't get told that it's diabetes until it's really late in the game. By the time you're told you have diabetes, dude, it's been going on for a while. All this dysregulation, the key doesn't fit anymore, the lock doesn't work anymore, all that stuff has been happening for a long time before you get the diagnosis of diabetes. So understand that if you're suffering with a number of these disorders, especially blood pressure, and your doctor's never told you about diabetes, it's because they're not taught to. And we're just now starting to link all these things in. So Symptoms that you could have if you have insulin resistance. You could have constant hunger even after eating. If you feel like you need more food, that's probably insulin resistance. If you're having energy crashes, especially after you eat, so you're wired one moment and you're exhausted the next, that's insulin resistance. Brain fog, you forget things easily, you struggle to focus, or you feel off, that's insulin resistance. Belly fat, that big bulging belly like I used to have, it's gotten much better. That belly fat that feels like it's impossible to lose no matter what you do, that's insulin resistance. High blood pressure, insulin resistance. Swollen feet or hands, your body's holding on to water. We're going to go over how that happens here in a minute, relating to the heart too. So skin tags, dark skin patches on your skin. I had skin tags all on my neck, on my eyes, under my arms, in my groin. They were everywhere, and they all just went away when I got my insulin under control. But they're a symptom. You guys, if you're seeing those dark skin patches around your neck, on your elbows, on your knees, it's a warning sign, and your body's trying to tell you that you're struggling and you need to get control of it. So if you're having cravings for carbs and sugar, like your body is just begging for the wrong foods, it's probably insulin resistance. Okay, so now I want to tell you, those are some symptoms, right? Fatigue, excess hunger, weight that you can't get rid of, brain fog, skin tags, skin disorders like acanthosis nigricans, or those dark skin patches. It's all linked to insulin resistance. But why do you care besides those symptoms? So the big reason is it links into almost every disease and disorder that we have today, including hypertension and cardiovascular deaths and events. So if it's untreated, insulin resistance can lead to type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure and heart disease, PCOS and infertility, fatty liver disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, and so many more things. You guys, it really is. Scientists are now saying the root of 95% of our health issues, and it's devastating us. Wow. Thanks, Viper. So, hey guys, I'm checking on the other platforms, and sometimes over on YouTube, I say this all the time. It used to be TikTok that was crazy, but YouTube has some just people who are looking for attention in all the wrong places. There was a song, right? Looking for love in all the wrong places, whatever. Okay, so if you feel like you're tired, you're swollen, you're foggy, you're struggling with your weight or your blood pressure, this insulin resistance is your sign that something deeper is happening in your body. All those symptoms mean that your body's already struggling. So let's talk about how all of this relates to your heart and why it's a major driver of blood pressure. Okay. So one of the first ways I always talk about is that your blood vessels are thickening. So I never used this analogy before, but let's look at it this way. Imagine that your blood vessels are a drinking straw, right? It's nice. You're drinking water, you're drinking soda, you're drinking whatever, and that straw is working. You're getting your thirst fixed. But what if you're trying to drink a smoothie through that same straw, and it starts to get clogged because the smoothie is so thick? That's like your blood vessels. With insulin resistance, they start to thicken up and the space inside gets smaller and tighter, and now blood doesn't flow through like it's supposed to. And so just like that straw that's thickening, it's harder to sit. But now what's happening with your blood vessels is that as you have this cell dysfunction, this lining problem, it's getting thicker and stiffer, making it harder for blood to flow through. And when blood has to squeeze through a tight space because those blood vessels are so thick, what happens? Your heart has to pump harder, and that's high blood pressure. So the number one thing is insulin resistance makes an overgrowth of these cells inside your blood vessels that's making them way too thick. And now your heart is pumping harder to get the same amount of blood through a smaller space. So think about that. Have you ever tried to suck a thick smoothie through a tiny coffee straw? Like you're having to really suck hard and you're not getting anything out of it. And that's because it's just the straw's too small. And that's happening inside your body with insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is making your blood vessels so small, your heart is just really having to work hard to try and get the blood through. Okay, so we've got to reduce insulin resistance. That starts to go away. That thickening doesn't stay. It resolves itself. Those cells can go back to normal. They're not going to have to stay thick all the time unless you're staying insulin resistant. And keep feeding yourself more sugar. Okay. So the number two way, still with your blood vessels, right? So now that that innermost lining is dysfunctional, there's something else that it does though. So that innermost lining does a number of things. Two of them are it's your blood brain barrier. And when it starts to get dysfunctional, you have problems. So when we get tears in it, when we get problems with it because of too much sugar and too much insulin, there's a problem there. But the other problem is that those innermost cells are supposed to produce something called nitric oxide. So think of it like chill juice, like you just took something to help you relax, or you ate something that helped you relax, or you did something that helped you relax. That's kind of what nitric oxide is doing inside your blood vessels. So it's a relaxation signal, and it tells your blood vessels to, hey, chill out, open up, let the blood flow, man. Just let's not be so strict. We want it to loosen up. We want the blood to flow. But what happens when that hose is squeezed really tight, or that straw is just really tiny, those blood vessels can no longer produce that nitric oxide, and now they don't open up. They stay tight and relaxed, and they just stay tight and strict, and they just can't relax enough to get you what you need, which is your blood pressure to go down and you to start to chill out. And so if you're feeling stressed or anxious all the time, it could be some of that too, because your body's responding. So again, the fix is to get your insulin resistance under control so you can get your blood vessels making this nitric oxide so they can relax and let your blood flow freely. No more high blood pressure. Okay. A third way, and this affects your kidneys. Okay. So the third way that it's affecting your heart by affecting your kidneys is this. A lot of people see, but they don't understand, like swollen feet, swollen hands, puffy face, all of that. What's really happening is the kidneys are producing a hormone called aldosterone. With insulin resistance, those kidneys are not producing that hormone in the same manner that they were before. Now the kidneys get confused, and they don't know when to let go of salt and water, and they don't know when to hold on to it. So they're just holding on to it all the time. And now you have a puffy face, you have puffy hands, you have puffy feet. It starts to build neuropathy in a different way. But now you're having this water retention swollen problem because your kidneys don't know what to do, because they're not being able to produce the hormone that they need to, that tells all of that stuff to happen. So when insulin resistance starts to mess with that, all the aldosterone, your kidneys get confused, and instead of flushing water out, they hold on to it. Now, more water equals more pressure on those blood vessels that are already too small and can't relax, right? Your blood pressure is going up even more. Okay. So have you ever blown up a water balloon too much and you see it's tight, right? When the water balloon gets blown up really tight, it's like it could pop at any second. That's what's happening inside your blood vessels when your body holds on to too much water. So now we already have blood vessels that are smaller, and we're trying to force the heart to pump harder to get the blood through there. They can't relax, so the heart's pumping even harder. Now we're adding more liquid to the blood, meaning it has to pump harder yet. So 3 ways. We still have 2 more ways. So number 4, when your insulin goes up, that hormone that's delivering energy, what is also happening is your cortisol is going up. Insulin resistance is the underlying problem. So insulin resistance is really at the key of all of this. Scott, give me a second. I'll come back to that, because that's why I went over insulin resistance. You probably weren't here, but insulin resistance really is causing all of this dysfunction. I will just say that. Let me finish this part, because I'm not getting, I get off track sometimes. So when you have insulin resistance, the increase in insulin causes an increase in another hormone called your cortisol, and that's your fight or flight response. So if you ever feel like you're jittery, anxious, or your heart's just pounding too hard, maybe you're feeling lightheaded or you're having trouble sleeping, the cortisol, that's cortisol, your stress hormone, going haywire. So normally cortisol, it's great. It's there to like tell us when there's danger. We got to get up and we got to get moving. It helps us wake up in the morning, but it's not meant to be so constant in our system all the time like we have it now. So normally cortisol is great. It's what helps you run from danger. But when insulin resistance is in the picture, your body is thinking it's in danger all the time, and it's not. So your body's in fight or flight mode just a little bit all the time. And now you have blood vessels that are too thick and they can't open up, and we're putting extra water through them. And now we're telling the heart to pump even faster because cortisol is raised. And when we have a raise in cortisol, we have a raise in our blood pressure pumping even harder. So if you if you ever have seen a car that's revving its engine at max speed all day, that engine is going to burn out. And your heart is like that engine. Okay. So you can't rev your heart all the time and expect it to just keep functioning normally. But this was what's happening with people with high blood pressure when they're not dealing with the root problem. If you have high blood pressure, that's my number one signal that you have insulin resistance. Get the insulin resistance under control, the blood pressure will start to resolve itself for 95% of people out there. Okay. So if we've got to lower insulin and help the body calm the heck down. We don't need to be in fight or flight mode. We need to be in chill mode sometimes. So when we get that cortisol down, when we get that nitric oxide to be able to pump, we can actually kind of relax, like just relax. But we're not able to do that when we're on insulin resistance all the time. The last one I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about the protocol that helps. Then I will give you guys a bonus. It's something that I've been wondering about and looking around for information on because people are not talking about it. And so I'm going to bring it to you guys here today. Ugh. But number 5 is LDL particle size. Most of you guys know we have LDL, low density lipoprotein. We have HDL, high density lipoprotein. We have triglycerides. We have this whole panel of cholesterol that we're measuring. And for traditionally people say LDL is the bad cholesterol, right? LDL is what's causing the blockages in your system, in your blood vessels, and causing arterial plaques and stuff to build up. But it's the size of the particle that matters. It's not just the LDLB. You can have a lot of or LDL. You can have a lot of LDL as long as that ratio is right in your system. But what happens with insulin resistance is we start to create too much of a smaller, denser particle of LDL. So particle A is a large buoyant particle. Particle B is a small one. The particle B sinks to the bottom of your blood vessels, and it's meant to be there to help fix little tears and stuff in your blood vessels and help keep them repaired. But when we have insulin resistance, those tears, because we have sugar in our bloodstream for too long at a high amount, those tears start to get big. And the insulin is cueing your brain to create more LDLB than LDLA. Now, those LDLB particles are falling into those tears and starting to cause the blockage in your system. Did it all start with you eating fat? No, it all started you eating sugar and eating too often and allowing insulin to have to be high in your bloodstream all the time. And that's the real problem. We shouldn't be eating every 2 hours. We shouldn't be eating such high amounts of carbs. We should be focusing on protein and fats. And protein and fats are actually going to fix your heart by getting your insulin resistance down. Now, you can't eat high proteins, high fats, and high carbohydrates. That's danger, right? We don't want to do that. I want you to eat healthy saturated fats. I want you to focus on proteins. I want you to focus on healthy vegetables and fibers and start to put away some of the bagged, boxed, barcoded stuff that's making you sick. That's making your heart work way too hard. Those foods are what's making you sick, okay? So you can fix it, guys. The protocol that I use is really simple, very simple. Scott, let's talk about the insulin resistance real quick again so you'll understand this next part. Insulin resistance is when we're eating too much and we're eating carbohydrates too often, we're causing this need for insulin in our body too often. Insulin is simply a hormone that takes the energy we've eaten in the form of those carbohydrates or just about anything else we eat except for fats, and it delivers that energy to the cells of the system so that they can grow, repair, do what they're supposed to. But with insulin resistance, because we're eating sugar too often, every time we eat sugar or something that causes our blood sugar, our energy level to spike, then we have the pancreas creating insulin to help deliver that to the cells. Because it doesn't just hang out and automatically get soaked into the cells. It takes insulin, a hormone, to carry it, open the cell door, allow it in, and then insulin goes and does its other job. Insulin resistance, the cells are not taking up enough. except for some cells like those endothelium taking up too much. And then we start to have problems in the body. And so much so that doctors are saying 95% of all of our illness today is linked to insulin resistance. Now, I say I didn't change the name of this video. It should not be 36 hours. We'll go over my 36-hour fast. Today is day 1 in a minute. So you don't have to stay stuck in the cycle, you guys. It's easier than you think. So there's all these diet plans out there, and people are always talking about doing keto or doing some restrictive calorie counting or all of these things, and it just feels impossible. I know, because I was there and I tried all the things. I did vegan, I did keto, I did, and I was strict. I was training to be an athlete, so I was very strict with it, and I still was getting sick until I found this system. Okay, so the system is actually 2 drinks that I have at 3 key points in the day. And the basis of this system is that we're giving you back control over the foods that have been damaged. So we're making the food back to what it should be normally, so our bodies can understand how to use it. Many, many doctors are talking about how processed our foods have become, how different they become from what they were meant to be. And now that means that we're not getting, for our body, physiologically, we're not getting what we need out of our food. And that's the big problem. That's the main problem we have right now. What the system does is actually put back in nutrients and fiber and phytosterols and all these big words you don't really need to know. It's just adding back in what's been stripped out so that your body can deal with the food that we're eating today like it was always meant to. Okay, it's backed by science. It's actually been created by science to help us with this, knowing that our food is imperfect. So you know that if you know that you have high blood pressure and you now know that insulin resistance is at the root of it, or you know somebody who's struggling with it, just understand that getting insulin resistance under control is the basic key to getting this all taken care of. So it goes like this. You have a tea first thing in the morning, which is the same tea that I'm drinking now. It's got no sugar, no artificial flavors, junk. It's just natural, a natural way to give your body the energy and focus it needs to start the day. You replace your morning coffee with it. You don't put sugar in it. You have it during a fasting moment, which I'm fasting today all day. So I'm having this. It does not spike my insulin. It helps keep me staying in a fasting state by helping me feel satiated, by helping with ketones and growth hormone as I'm fasting. It actually helps support your body in producing those things. So you don't get any crazy blood sugar spikes from it. You don't get hungry an hour after you finally do eat, which breakfast for me normally is about noon. So we're past my breakfast time, right? I'm more towards my evening meal, but I'm just going to finish out the day fasting. We'll talk about the 36-12 fast I'm doing now and why. And then that's it. So I have a tea in the morning, a tea in the afternoon. I don't keep crashing all day, and I don't keep needing caffeine all day. This is it. Okay. So if you ever feel like you need to eat the second you wake up, you probably have some insulin resistance. That's insulin resistance talking, saying, feed me. I'm so used to you feeding me constantly. You got to wake up and feed me. No, we've got to break that cycle. So when you start the day with the tea, your body can burn fat for energy instead of constantly craving food. And this is why intermittent fasting works so well here. We're allowing insulin to come down. We're allowing you to get into a fat burning state, and you're allowing some cellular turnover to happen. When insulin is present, insulin is an anabolic hormone. It wants things to grow. It's not going to let you burn fat as long as it's high. Every time you eat, every 2 hours, every time you're doing all that, you're spiking your insulin, and it's making your metabolism worse and worse. So we've got to cut that back. We're not built for it. We've been trained to do it because of a food industry that wants to sell us food, but we're not built to eat like we're eating. So that's that. That's the game changer. 2 teas in the morning, a pre-meal drink, and some intermittent fasting. So now the tea in the afternoon, I have that generally. Now, like I said, I will forget to mix my second one up. So I always mix them up both into a 40-ounce mug. This is my second one today, and it's almost gone. So any time of day, though, for the rest of you, that you feel tired or distracted or just ready to snack on anything you can find, like you're just hungry and you don't know why, you need something, drink a tea. That's going to start to knock back that hunger, and there's lots of reasons why, scientifically proven. It helps increase your GLP-1, the same drug that people are taking for weight loss. This does it naturally in your body just by sipping on the tea. So instead of grabbing coffee, sugar, a Reese's or Snickers bar, a bag of chips, or all of that stuff, this tea, if you're drinking it at that time, is helping you keep your energy up without the crashes. Okay. It's heart healthy. It's helping your heart, instead of like I have people who drink Bang energies and stuff, and I just, people are where they're at. They'll do what they're going to do when it's their time. But I can't get them to understand that those things are actually causing more of a heart problem, more of a weight problem, more of an insulin problem, where the tea is giving you energy while building your heart strength, while building your energy, while building satiety and not making you hungry and want to reach for something else. Now it's stopping your cravings so you don't snack mindlessly. You keep your insulin level steady so your body stays in fat burning mode. Okay. So if you ever get that 2 p.m. fog or crash, like you could just take a nap at your desk. You come back from lunch, you're like, oh my gosh, I got 4 hours to make it through the rest of this day, and I just don't know how I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden you're crashing and you're feeling tired and you're just like, can the clock turn now? That's when we have this other tea. That's also a sign that your insulin is really dysregulated, those crashes, those spikes and crashes. But having the tea helps you by not making you spike your blood sugar more, but helping you keep full and mental clarity and energy, along the way, so that you can push through the rest of the day actually with ease, and it increases your well-being score, so how happy you are. So at 2 p.m. or around there, you're going to have the tea. But look, it's food. I've had up to 5 of them in a day. It's not that big a deal. Yay! I got something. Thank you for the gift, whoever sent that. We achieved the goal. So thank you guys for that on my live. Now, the third part of it is the pre-meal drink. So what I've talked about so far is a tea in the morning, a tea in the afternoon, and now we're going to add in a pre-meal drink. So most people will have their biggest carbohydrates at dinner when they're sitting down with the family. Think baked potatoes or, bread or all the other stuff. So at the meal that you have the most carbohydrates, you're going to have the pre-meal drink. Okay. It's a quick drink. You just mix in water, drink it down fast, and then it's going to start to gel up in your gut, help you feel full before you even eat. So you're less likely to overeat, but it's also coating your gut and starting to encapsulate the sugars that come in. So it's slowing down how quickly they're going to hit your bloodstream, even while you're eating. Okay. So it is just helping. Hey, fat cheerleader. It's an interesting name. Okay. So you just have that drink before your biggest meal with carbohydrates during the day. So my recommendation is, for your first meal, you're going to focus on proteins and fats, and then you save that one for your next meal. Now, me personally, I do it like this. Instead of just having a tea in the morning, a tea in the afternoon, I mix it up. I sip on it all day. There's no timeline, you guys. Start it when you wake up. It's going to help you feel fuller and happier when you wake up. But there's no like, if I don't drink this at 8 o'clock and I didn't wake up until 11, I've screwed up. No, that's not true. This is so simple. You guys, don't make it more complicated than it has to be. A tea in the morning, a tea in the afternoon, and a pre-meal drink. So for me, I have my tea in the morning. I have my tea in the afternoon. I drove 8 hours south of here for some family events this weekend. So I had tea in the car beside me all day to help me keep me awake and focused on the road. No accidents. We don't want any of that. This helped me with that. Helped me feel full so I didn't need to snack all day. Okay. Then the pre-meal drink I have before I eat anything. Okay. I have it. I'm not eating today. I will probably have a pre-meal drink anyway because it's good for my gut microbiome, even when I'm fasting. But I have it before I eat anything. So the tea is in the protocol that I do. It's a yerba mate tea, but it's very highly concentrated. So at least 30 times higher in chlorogenic acids than any other tea on the market. It's been purified, so pesticides, toxins, microplastics are pulled out of it. You don't have to steep it. It's in a package like this that you just tear the top off and pour it in water and then shake it up or stir it up, and there's your tea. So this makes it super easy. Like, I'll be traveling back to the West Coast this spring. So this is what I'll do. I'll just put these in my purse or my carry-on. When I get into the airport, I have a water bottle. I fill it up. I mix my tea up, and I'm good to go. So I don't have to worry about those energy crashes. I don't have to worry about going and finding something that's actually damaging my body. I get to keep it with me wherever I go. And it actually works. Increasing GLP-1 naturally by up to 70%, especially when you're drinking it twice a day. And every time I sip this, it's producing a little bit of GLP-1 for me. And that's helping me stay satiated. That's helping me stay full of energy and mental clarity. Okay, so a tea in the morning, a tea in the afternoon, and a pre-meal drink before you eat. Now, if you're like me, I have the 2 teas in a day, and then I have the 2 pre-meal drinks in a day for me. So I'm 61 years old. I was insulin resistant for a long time. I want to make sure that my body's healing. So I do 2 of these a day, and I noticed like the extreme IBS, on the verge of Crohn's, all of this stuff that I suffered with before is I don't have those issues like that now. My gut is healing now. As my gut heals, my heart heals, because I had a blood pressure that was 180 over 150 every single day. And I had doctors cycling me through medications, and none of them were helping. And I was so shocked to see my blood pressure start to go down within 6 days of starting this protocol. It took a year for my blood pressure to normalize, but that 180 over 150 that I was on, that I had, and I was on dual therapy, is now 110 over 74 every day. And I ditched 13 medications. So 13 medications, prescriptions that I had, are gone. I don't take any prescribed medications. It's been more than 3 years since I've had a prescription. And the prescriptions I had last were because of an emergency surgery I had to have. I don't take medications. I don't have any in my house. I don't have any over-the-counter Tums or anything like that in the house. I just have the biggest thing that I have in the house that I use every day and will not do it without is my 2 teas and my 1 pre-meal drink a day, because I know that when I'm addressing my insulin resistance, everything else starts to get better. So welcome in everybody who's just jumping in. But that's the system. It's so easy, you guys. It's in packets. You just dump in water, the tea hot or cold, the pre-meal drink cold, and that's it. You can get it in my profile. I'll drop the link over on YouTube and Facebook where you guys are over there now. But if you just go to my profile and look at the 2 red light symbols right under my picture, there's a link there. That's where you're going to find the system. Or you can get a hold of me and say, hey, is this, this is what's going on. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose, but I'm very aware of what can happen. And so you can ask me, do you think it's going to actually work? The other thing is it has a 90-day money back guarantee. So even if it doesn't work, then you're just going to get your money back. But you haven't put a bunch of stuff in your body that's harming your body. You're putting things in your body that are supporting it, like vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we really need. So yeah, it works, you guys. And if you want to really change your health, you just need to try it. Now, I promised some extra information today, right? Some extra information I don't normally talk about. So what we need to understand is when you have insulin resistance, and I'm going to link this back to the heart because this has been bugging me for a while now. And so I got an answer. But visceral fat is the fat, the brown fat, because it has mitochondria, these little powerhouses that make things warm and actually do stuff with the fat. That fat is found underneath your belly wall, right? The muscles of your belly, it's found under there. But it also extends up into your chest cavity, up into the back of your neck, and into your tongue. So what about the heart? Well, when we're having insulin resistance, we're creating more of that fat. Now, remember, you have a rib cage and you have a muscle wall down here that's kind of holding that fat in. So as we're overproducing fat in those areas, it's starting to crowd out your organs. So liver, kidneys, all of that start to get inundated by this fat, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's building up too much fat. But it also is affecting your heart, because that same brown fat is building up and it starts to get up and around your heart. So beyond the blood vessels not acting right, and the wrong kind of LDL being made, and your kidneys not filtering right, now we also have to think that as we're building up this fat, we're causing an environment where our heart has to work harder, because you've got all these vessel issues going on, but now you're impeding the heart by just like clumping it up with all this fat that's being produced by insulin resistance. So You want to imagine that your heart's a balloon and it needs to pump and squeeze to keep your blood moving. Okay. So a little bit of the fat is actually normal and helps protect your heart, but too much of it is a big problem because that balloon, now imagine wrapping that balloon in thick layers of bubble wrap. So that balloon that should expand and contract is impeded because there's bubble wrap. So it can't blow up like it's supposed to, right? So it has less contraction force because it's not blowing up as far. The more bubble wrap you add, the harder it is for the balloon to squeeze and pump, right? So that's exactly what's happening when too much fat builds up around your heart. So it squeezes your heart. The extra fat takes up space, making it harder for your heart to pump blood. Your heart has to work overtime just to do its job, and it causes inflammation. That fat releases chemicals that's causing swelling and damage inside your heart. And that makes your heart stiff and weak over time. And it can mess with your heartbeat. Too much fat around your heart can actually disrupt the way your heart beats, making you more likely to have irregular heart rhythms. So this is the same thing, you guys. It's the same thing. All of that is led to from insulin resistance. We can get that fat back off of the heart and allow the heart to start working properly again as soon as we start taking care of the insulin resistance. If you fix the insulin resistance, you shrink the visceral fat, and then that takes the pressure off of your heart. So that's why I love this protocol and I use it all the time. It's about fixing my insulin resistance, but it's about my overall health as well. Again, because it's as simple as this. Instead of all the medications, instead of cycling through all the stuff, I did a morning tea to keep my blood sugar steady and stop my cravings. I do an afternoon tea to help keep my energy up and help me burn fat. And then I have a pre-meal drink before my meals to stop the blood sugar spikes and keep insulin low. That pre-meal drink, by the way, is the only fiber-based drink that I know of that has studies on it specifically that show it reduces a blood sugar spike by up to 43%. That's huge. So why do we have it when we eat? Because it's stopping that blood sugar spike, which is stopping that need for high amounts of insulin that's hurting your heart. Okay. So when you stop the insulin roller coaster, your body naturally burns through that deeper fat, and that takes stress off your heart, helping you feel better. Now, I have anxiety. I have an acidic stomach. I have whatever. So for me, not only do I have this before my two meals of the day, but say like we were traveling and we went out and had pastries this weekend on our family travels. See, I get a little bit of heartburn or something because I ate too much sugar or something that got fried in oils. I just have one of these because it coats my stomach, it soothes my stomach, it helps my stomach from having that really acidic and acid reflux that's going on because it just calms all that down. But say I'm hungry and it's nighttime and I know I shouldn't be eating, but I just want something on my gut. Guess what? Vitamins, minerals, a bunch of fibers that are helping your gut. I drink this before bed when I'm having breakthrough hunger and I don't want to have the tea, which is going to give me energy. I just drink this again. And because it's food, I can do this as many times a day as I need to, as long as my gut is used to the high amount of fiber in this. So that's the system, you guys. It's 2 teas and a fiber that you have at those 3 points during the day, and that's it. It costs about $5 a day for the system. You have a 90-day money-back guarantee. When you purchase with my link, you're getting it at the lowest price possible, and you're getting me for coaching. If you go buy it from someplace else, I'm not going to know that you bought it. I'm not going to reach out. I'm not going to be able to help you. Just use my link, and I'll be able to help you and answer your questions. It matters who you purchase from. That's who you get linked up to help you through this. So, you guys, if you have any other questions, I just want to go back to the fact that I'm just not really blown away because it made sense to me that visceral fat would be causing this excess blood pressure, but that's a new piece. It's not one that I've normally talked about. So I'll be getting some short videos of this up later. And then in the meantime, you guys, this will be found on YouTube at Brilliant Health with Misha. You can come back and watch it later and see some of the information, or go watch my shorts. I give a lot of information there. And you're so welcome, Tanya Lee. So know that getting your insulin under control is going to help your heart. And that is huge because that is one of the top reasons or symptoms that we can tell early on that we have insulin resistance, way before your blood sugars go high, way before all the other stuff goes up. If you start to see your blood pressure increase, your heart is on a path you don't want it to be on, get it fixed. And it's as easy as taking care of the insulin resistance. Okay, you guys, we'll talk to you tomorrow, and I hope it helped. If you have questions, just reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to answer whatever I can. So we'll see you all later. Tanya, thanks for joining all as always. We'll see you guys later. Have a great day.